Hey there, welcome to Pop Culture Cupid.
I'm Alison, love coach, here to help you single people find your way back to love.
And I'm Michal, I'm a single life coach. I help singles embrace themselves and their singleness, as well as develop a healthy self relationship.
In this podcast, we will look at how pop culture impacts romance, dating, and your love life.
And each week we'll shoot another arrow through another pop culture delusion.
I thought we weren't going to do the whole cheesy thing.
And then burst into smithereens.
Oh my god, dude, that's so cringe!
Sorry, it's in the intro now.
If you make it through the chaos and you enjoy what you hear, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and go to all the social media.
At Pop Culture Cupid on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy!
Hello.
Hey, I think today is one of the best days about how fast we were able to start. Even though it wasn't perfect. It only took us 21 minutes.
Yes. Well, yeah, we'll get there in the end. Eventually, we'll get
there in the end. It'll happen. It'll happen.
Hey.
How is it going on your side of the world?
Well, depends on the day and time you ask me, but
right,
it's exhausting. It's emotional. It's a lot of ups and downs, and it's yeah. It's funny because we have an Israeli skit show style SNL, just a bit funnier, and they've been doing this series about the war, and so they just had a tiny little bit in the end of the last episode where they showed a woman dressed up as if she's 2024 waiting in a waiting room, and then another woman comes running out, well, a man dressed as a woman, and comes out bandaged and shot with a vest and looks all, roughed up, and then she says, "Oh, I was 2023 and it's your time to go in." And she's like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm conveying this properly." Anyway, it just goes to show where we all feel like we're ending this year like such. Anyway, that's my long rambling way of saying that it's been rough, but it's been okay, but we're getting there, and just need a lot of patience and perseverance.
And keeping positive.
Yeah, we're trying to. It's a bit hard with all the dimwits around the world who think they know history better than history, but that's what happens when China controls the information that you consume.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I went off TikTok.
Same.
Anyway, let's segue into something a bit more lighthearted.
How are you doing? Yeah, let's
good. We came back yesterday so we celebrate Christmas on this side of the world, obviously.
Yeah.
Being in France, and so we went to my aunt and uncle's for Christmas, and it was great. We got back yesterday, and you can for the camp for people on video, I haven't finished unpacking just because yesterday I got back and I thought, oh, I'm just not going to do anything, and then this morning I just started doing stuff downstairs, and anyway, so I'm just taking it easy. I decided that this Christmas break is going to be I am just taking a break and just taking a step back, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we have to learn how to not be so hard on ourselves. I've worked on that a lot, and it's still very difficult. Especially in these times where it's much harder to get things done with everything going on. It's like, and I feel guilty for not being more productive, or for not doing things quicker, for not finishing. Like, you just have to sometimes learn how to have mercy on yourself. Yeah. And sometimes it is good to do nothing.
Yeah.
It's better than just pretending to try and do something and end up wasting your time and feeling more frustrated.
when yesterday we had a 3-hour drive to get back to Lyon, like where we live, and we were talking about all of these things and things like that, and then I was like, out of nowhere I said, do you remember our first date? And he goes, obviously. I mean, obviously I remember our first date. And it got us into this big conversation, because I have this thing where I like hearing about how he lived certain situations. We do it, about arguments and things like that, but I also like to have his, point of view about how we met and how the first date went and what he was thinking that first night. I don't know, romantic, squishy person.
Yeah.
So it got us thinking about all these kind of first dates and how they go well and how they don't go well. And I don't know if you watched How I Met Your Mother, the TV show, but they have this one episode where, because Marshall and Lily liked each other, Marshall did all of these things that were really romantic, and so that really worked out well. But if she didn't like Marshall as much as she did, then it would have come off really creepy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
showing up at her room and things like that. And it depends, if you like the person, then it comes off really well, and if you don't like the person, then it becomes really strange. And it's funny. I mean, how because I'm confronted to this type of thing often. Often with my clients, where they'll say something along the lines of, especially women, of, don't you think that's so creepy? And I said, if this other guy had done that, would you have found that creepy? And she would go, no. I was like, well, that's just, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think it definitely has to do a lot with your connection with a person and whether or not you like them and if they're for you. But I also really feel like it has a lot to do with the intention behind the actions and the words. And they come off differently from different people. But yeah, if you don't like the person, if they do something, it seems creepy. Like I tell my boyfriend all the time, if you weren't my boyfriend and I didn't love you, you would be such a creeper. Like that would be such a creepy thing to do. But like, you're my boyfriend and I love you, so it makes sense. Kind of.
Tell me about some of your first dates, and I'll tell you some about mine.
So the first thing that comes to mind was the last first date I had right before I met my current boyfriend. It wasn't right before, but it was the last date before. And it was such a huge reminder of why I stopped just going out on dates and why I stopped using the apps.
I think I remember hearing about this. Just go ahead with the story, but I think I remember hearing about this.
What happened? Well, where do I even begin? So I was staying at a friend's house because he lived much closer to her than he did to me. And so I asked him, like, where do you want to meet up? I mean, this is your turf, so let me know if there's any place that you'd rather go. So he's like, so there's this long back and forth of, I don't know, what do you want? I don't know, what do you want? Until eventually, like I said, okay, fine, I don't mind. I'll jump on a bus. I'll come to you. And you choose the place right, like next to you. I really don't mind. So then I get there. He says, there's this place under my house. We can go there. So, there's this place close to my house. So I get there and I let him know on the way that I was running late because of the bus, whatever. But I get there and he's still not there. So I sent him a message and he's like, I'm so sorry, I'm running a bit late. I'm almost there. And this goes on for like half an hour where he's like, I'm almost there, I promise. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm gonna wait a few more minutes, and if he doesn't get here, then I'm gone. But then he gets there, and I'm like, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, which is always a good thing to do in general. I think we should always give the benefit of the doubt and not straight away, blame someone or jump to conclusions. So I asked him, is everything okay? Did something happen? He was like, no, everything's fine. I just, was at home and basically wasting time. And then I asked him, well, do you live far away? Did it take you a long time to get here? He's like, no, I live just around the corner. And I'm like, okay, so what was the big, and also I have to point out that he looked nothing like his pictures.
Oh, that's horrible.
Which I'm fine. Like, I mean, he was much more overweight than he was in his pictures, which he wasn't overweight at all in his pictures, which is fine. It's okay. Every person and their type, but like, don't put misleading pictures. Anyway, we sit down, and this place that he took me to is like a burger joint, which is very weird. Like, it's not even, you didn't put any thought into it. It's just like this random place under his house. We order drinks, and I come to realize that he's like he's like high as a kite.
Oh my God.
He basically, the reason he was late was because he was smoking a joint, and then he proceeds to smoke at least like 2 or 3 joints throughout the I don't know, what was it, an hour of a date. And throughout the time I was like, oh, okay, this is, you know in the first 2 minutes whether this is it or not, and I knew that it wasn't, and I wish I walked away, but instead I was like, okay, let me at least get a free glass of wine out of this, and then I'll go as soon as possible. So he doesn't ask me a single question the whole date. I'm trying to carry this conversation, ask him a million of questions. He's not participating whatsoever. And long story short, I tell him I have to go, and he's like, oh, pouty face, oh no, you have to go. In his mind, the date was going so well. And then he goes to pay, and he brings out this, it's called a Cebus card in Israel. It's like basically a card that you get from work to pay for food.
Yeah.
So he's like,
I see.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I use this card only to impress on dates. And I'm like, there's nothing impressive about that, but okay. And then and then I was trying to get away from him. Why would you say it
as well?
Yeah, I don't know. He was high. So then and then he's God, this is a long story, but we're almost at the end. So I was trying to get away from him, but he insists on coming with me to the bus stop. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then he's like, he comes to me to the bus stop, and I see him looking on a taxi app, and I'm like, and he's like, I'm contemplating whether to walk or not, or take a taxi. And I'm like, but didn't you say you live right around the corner? And he's like, yeah, I live, but it's like a 5-minute walk, and I can't be bothered.
Wow.
And he was like, he even tried to get me to come back to his place with him. He was like convinced that it was a great date. And so, yeah. And then a few days later, he wrote, I can't remember when it was, like the next day or the day after, he wrote to me, hi. And I give as much as I get. I'm not, like, if you're not going to put in any effort, neither am I, especially if I don't care, and they go hi back. And I can't remember if I think you responded something, and then I just like, I'm going to allow myself to ghost him because this person is not worth another minute of my time. And that's the...
Yeah, that thing about ghosting is a good point where, but people get so kind of up in arms about ghosting and things like that. And it's like, how many dates have you been on with this person? Like, really, how much interaction have you had with each other and things like that? And when it's been 3, 4, 5 dates, I understand then, and that's a bit annoying. But when it's just been one date, it's just like, it's the effort. People get offended about anything.
Yeah, gotta love that. Everything's offensive. Even the truth is offensive these days, which is hilarious to me. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Again, I don't believe. Look, I don't believe that there's ever a 50-50 in a relationship. But there's certain points where you have to just give as much as you're getting, because certain people are not worth the effort, especially if they're not putting in any effort whatsoever, and you've only been on one date with them, and that date was terrible, and they're clearly disconnected from reality. So
Yeah. I mean, think about yourself before you start thinking about others. And then if, yeah, I mean, I like what you said about, I will allow myself to just ghost this person.
yeah,
It's that thing of, yeah, just allow yourself to just put your needs first every so often. And if you get ghosted, it's just, if you get ghosted after, I'd say 3 dates is the threshold. If after the 3rd date you get ghosted without anything, then yeah, I would say that's wrong. No, you don't have to be in a relationship after 3 dates, but then just listen, I don't see this going anywhere, is appreciated. But if it's just after 1 date, you need to get over it. It's just,
yeah. Yeah, and in general, if someone ghosts you, they're not worth any of your emotions or time. And I know this is
Exactly.
easier said than done, but at the end of the day, if they're not willing to put in the effort, that neither should you, and you shouldn't waste any of your energy on them. And
100%.
I know that it's, sorry?
100%.
Yeah, and I know it's a shitty thing to do. It's not nice to ghost someone, but if it's already done, it's already happened. So what's the point on dwelling on it? Just move on and go do your thing. So
yeah, totally.
and I say this as someone who's ghosted and been ghosted. I think we're all
have I
guilty of
ever
it.
ghosted? And I think, thinking about, I've been ghosted.
Yeah.
Have I ever ghosted? I think there's something about perception as well of, I mean, what is ghosting? We're not going to get philosophical. Well, we might. But what is ghosting? It's, because did this guy write to you several times after, like, did he write to you often? Did you just go from talking a lot to not talking at all? Because for me, ghosting is when you're expecting, there's a reasonable expectation of a conversation or a response or something, of just like, you were meant to show up for something, or you're expecting an answer because up till now there was an exchange and then not anymore, like that. It's this strong thing of like something was building and then you just disappear. For me, that's ghosting. And so I definitely haven't done something as extreme of that. Maybe kind of in betweens of just kind of being less responsive and things like that. Yeah, definitely. And then being ghosted. Yeah, one guy where we had been on several dates and I thought it was going well and we were like messaging a lot, and then he just stopped. I was like, that it was just so strange of just, why would you? Because I've probably been on, I don't know, 100 dates, not exaggerating. Like, I've been on many first dates of many. So, it's bound to happen. But yeah. So ghosting. So now with this kind of definition, I don't even think that what you did is ghosted. It's just you didn't respond to 1 or 2 messages.
Yeah.
After low kind of energy. It reminds me, you were going to say, before I kind of interrupted you, I'll say my thing after.
Yeah, it's okay. I was going to say that I agree with your definition of ghosting, and it really is dependent on the situation. I don't think I've ever ghosted someone that I've known for a while, that we've been on a few dates. It's only ever been like when it was just in the beginning, or when the person was being on the verge of creepy and like this disturbing. So, sometimes there's good reasons to do it, but in general, if you already established something with someone and you already have this connection, you've been on a few dates and you're starting to develop a relationship, and then suddenly one bright day you disappear, that's ghosting.
Yeah, I agree. And so then it kind of becomes a bit justified about why people get, for that type of thing. I agree with your definition of when you're saying like if somebody goes to you, they're not worth your energy, but when you've got a bit more invested, then it's more understandable. But yeah, but don't get invested after just one date. It's, you know, I saw this, I was it a TikTok or whatever, I can't remember, well, you know, a YouTube short, whatever, where this girl had been on a date with a guy, and she messaged all her friends and she said, beyond the shadow of a doubt, this guy is the love of my life and I love him so much. And well, not I love him so much, like, this guy, I'm going to marry him, he's the one, blah blah blah, like, I just know it, like, deep inside my bones, after one date. And so what she had done is that she had gone on Facebook and Instagram and blocked the usernames of her first name and his last name, so that when they got married she could use them. And so, and
oh my god,
and because internet works the way that it does, you know, when you're connecting your accounts to your phone or whatever, like, it pushes your account.
Yeah.
Anyway, for some reason it showed up on various people's like suggested pages, and so he saw this and he just disappeared and didn't write to her
I can
ever
imagine
again.
why.
So
Which just
all
goes
this,
to
just don't get invested.
yeah, don't get invested. And it just goes to show that, again, what I always say is also look at your own actions. I find it very frustrating when people just always try to blame everyone else but themselves. I don't care if the other person's at fault, you are still the common denominator, which doesn't mean you're automatically to blame or at fault, or that you did something wrong, or that there's something wrong with you. It just means that you have to look at yourself and what you did wrong, or what you did, what you can do better for next time, how you can change things. And yeah, if it's not to declare to the world after one date that this person's going to be your husband.
Yeah.
So I hope that makes sense.
It did make sense. I this one client that had this, like, he had been in his whole life maybe on 3 or 4 first dates and had never been in a relationship, and it was just, he was 28, and so, you know, early awkward stage. And so he went on this first date, and I was like, whatever you do, is just do not get your hopes up. Don't think it's going to go wrong, but don't think that it's going to go right. Just treat it like, you know, you're going to go for a drink with a friend, and that's that. And we did it. And so we did it for the first date, for the second date, and the third date. I was like, okay, you're doing well, like, you just have fun now. And now he's off his like 6-month course and he's in a relationship. But I was like, first 2 dates is just like, you're there to test the waters. Don't get your hopes up, don't get overexcited. And yeah, it's being very careful.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that ruined a lot of relationships by just jumping the gun and going too much in all the way. Like, first of all, I'm not a believer in restricting yourself and saying, don't say this, don't say that, don't do this, don't do that. But you do have to caution yourself. Like, you have to be cautious. There's no need to come out on the first date and spill your guts out right away, or go all in right away, or reveal all the parts of you right away. And no matter how much you're desperate for a relationship, which is one of the main reasons why we usually do this, because we just want, you know. So
yeah,
no matter how much we want it and how much we're excited about it, we need to remain like composed and take it one step at a time. And that's how you develop a much healthier relationship and a much more stable relationship.
Yeah, I agree. It's, as we were talking, I'm kind of reflecting on my first date with JT, and then just other first dates and how they went well and how they didn't go so well, and the ones that I'm disappointed didn't go. I mean, obviously I'm happy that none of those dates went well because I'm in a relationship with JT now, but just, you know, the regrets and things like that. But I've got a better story, which is pre first date, which I'm just so this guy, I've known him for, but not known him as in friendly, but just like we met when we were at university in 2010, a long time ago. And so we were never friendly or friends. It's just, Facebook friends. And then a few years later, so let's say 2014, 15, we realized that we're both in the same city because of Facebook and both single. And we tried to connect, but I end up telling him the only reason I'm trying to connect with you is because I'm trying to make this other guy jealous. Yeah, in like, forgive me, 20, I was young, yeah.
We've all done that at one point or another.
I said, I don't think that's fair to you, so I would rather just, cut it off here. So, I mean, pretty good, yeah, pretty good. And he said, yeah, that's fine.
Mature.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll, maybe another time. And then fast forward 2020, where we realized that we are both in the same city as well, which is, so this is the third city that we've, been in together, where we went to university, the current city I live in now, and then where we were both locked down in another place. He was working in that city and I was with my parents. And we end up talking, and so I tell him that I'm single, and we talk, and he's like, oh, maybe we can meet up. And I said, oh, I don't know about, lockdown and restrictions and things like that. And we were talking about how to make it happen. And then I say, I'm sorry, I get the feeling that that you're only looking for sex. And he says, well, maybe kind of. And I say, that's fine, no judgment. It's just I'm not looking for just sex, and I'm not really interested in that type of relationship, and I'm not gonna impede on my lockdown and sanitary risks for just a one-nighter. I hope you understand. And he was like, okay, that's fine. Okay, if that's not enough red kind of mishaps, fast forward again to 2022. So this time last year, actually, this time, like mid-December 2022, we message again, and we talk again, and he's like, so where you at? And this was like a couple of weeks before I met JT, like a month before I met JT. I tell him, well, I'm single, and he's like, oh, funny if the love coach is single, blah blah blah. I was like, well, what, doctors make the worst patients and all these stuff. And he say, okay, are we gonna try going on this infamous date again? And I say, yeah, okay, let's try. I was thinking, if it's just sex, then I'll just have sex. I just wanted to, I don't know, that's what I was feeling at that point. And he was saying, I'm looking for something serious, but I'm also not. He had the type of talk of, I'm looking for something serious, but if it's something lighthearted, it's fine. And it was the type of thing that I tell all of my clients to not say if they're looking for a relationship. It's just like, you need to own that you're looking for a relationship, or that you're not looking for a relationship. Like, you just need to own it and be honest. Mm-hmm. And he had the bad chat, that there was, like, it was just terrible. But I thought, I just want to change. I just want to spend some time with somebody else. I wasn't feeling too good about myself at that point. I was just like, I'm just gonna, spend some time with him. And so we fix a date. I can't remember what the day was. We take each other something, just after New Year's or whatever, or before, I can't remember. Anyway, and we talk like non-stop for a week, and it's going well, and blah blah blah. And then, and we say, let's fix, let's say it's 3rd of January, we'll go on a date. Okay, great. And everything kind of dies down in the talk. Like, he'll react to some stories, but not react so much. And I was just like, okay, that's weird, but I'm just going to let it, leave it hanging. And the day that we were supposed to go on a date, he messages me just out of the blue of just, hi, how's it going? And I talked to him and was like, we'll just see where this goes. And after like an hour of back and forth, I go, do you realize that we were supposed to go on a date tonight? Like, he's like, oh yeah, but it was never really set in stone. And and we were never, and I was like, okay, and I just stopped responding, and I was like, this, I don't need this. Actually, did I say that? Maybe I told him that I'd had enough of this immature shit. Maybe I was a bit more petty than I'm letting on. I can't remember. I'll have a look. But I was like, guys, you're allowed to change your mind, and
Yeah.
it's just, why did you write to me on the day that we were supposed to go on a date, as if nothing, like, it's so weird to me. It is so weird. And then the next day I create a reel or a short or whatever, I can't remember what I say this, like 1 minute and 15-second story of just, guys, you need to not do this. It was one of the best performing videos I'd done.
Yeah, I hope a lot of men see that, because one of the most annoying things you can do is to not communicate and relay your intentions and make things clear. Don't leave anyone guessing, no matter your gender or whatever, or who you're talking to. I think one of the worst things you can do is leave someone hanging and wondering if you're going to respond, not respond, what your intentions are, and what's going on in your, just share the things, be open, communicate. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. It's and especially, I mean, yeah, I mean, this guy is just talking about it. I'm just like, I just don't understand, because this wasn't a guy that I just met on Tinder and that ended up changing his mind. Like, there's a history there. And I was just, God, some guys are just very, very, very strange about communicating. I mean, even JT, now when we were talking yesterday, he told me about some of the times that he didn't behave in the best ways, and and I'm just like, why? And they're so terrified about saying the truth that they just get into this non-action mode of just, I'm too scared to do and say anything. I'm just not gonna do or say anything anymore. And it's just so weak,
Yeah. I feel like, well, both men and women do this. Like, women also expect men to respond the way a woman would, or to be like, they would expect them the same things that they would expect a woman to do or say, or have emotions like a woman would. But I see it a lot more in men, especially on all these apps and whatever, where men sort of expect women to know or to say or to behave or to want or to desire the same things the men do. Like, they sort of, I don't know how to explain it better than that, but they just think like a man, and they expect the woman to think like a man as well, kind of, if that makes sense.
I saw this video on whatever platform where the guy kind of like, they talk, oh no, they talk and fix a date, and then, I mean, choose a date, and then he doesn't write to her anymore, because, and he's saying to the camera, but I would like, for me, it was going to be Friday, I didn't really have much to say to her, so I just, just like, I didn't feel the need to write to her. And so come Friday, I text her in the morning, hi, and she says hi back, and then I thought that we were good, and then the evening I wait for her like 20-30 minutes, and then she doesn't show up. I call her and she goes, I didn't hear from you for the whole week. I thought the date was off this morning, you didn't say anything, like. And he was like, and so he says in his video, oh, what are these women like, what are we supposed, if I say that I'm going to do something, then that means I'm going to do something, like, you need to know this, I'm not going to write to you, I don't even know you, blah blah blah. And the number of reactions he got from women and men of just like, you are so wrong, like, of course she's gonna, you just said you don't know her, you're not going to spend time on her, she doesn't know you, she doesn't know what your word is worth, you didn't confirm. And yeah, just some of these guys thinking, you know, we're not in your heads. And it's not even a question of being you kind of like needy and things like that. It's just you don't hear from someone for a week. Like, so weird. So weird.
Yeah, I've seen that video. And first of all, I do agree. Men just think that like, not all men. I'm not gonna be inclusive. Not inclusive. What's the word I'm looking for?
Generalization.
I'm not gonna generalize. Yeah, but I think a lot of men just assume women want what they do and that they deserve to get what they want. And here's the thing about that kind of situation is that, first of all, if I haven't gone on a date with the guy yet, not only am I not gonna expect them to write to me every day that week before we go out, I don't even want them to. I don't want someone who's over eager or over writing. I'm just gonna find it annoying. But then on the other hand, I don't want them to disappear completely. I don't need them to, like, if we can only meet up in a week from now, then maybe I would expect to hear from you maybe in the middle of the week, or you know what, maybe even just on the date of the date to confirm, or the day before even. But again, it's about not going to those extremes and about not making assumptions, and again, open communication. Oh my God, humans are terrible in that way. It's like we have such a difficult time talking about things and communicating, and when we do communicate, we make it much heavier than it has to be.
Oh yeah, my ex-boyfriend was like that. That's another story for another time. But everything became this deep conversation. I was like, can't we just oh, it was so annoying. But, and you know, I can hear people saying, but why can't she be the one to confirm, and why can't she be, well, I mean, if you're the one stopping the conversation, then you're the one that needs to come back to the conversation. Like, especially with these types of people, they'll be, you know, oh, she'll be too needy, blah blah blah. If he thought that he wasn't going to message her because he doesn't really know her and he was going to just give it time, then if she had messaged him, I guarantee that he would have said something along the lines of, oh, she was too needy, I was annoyed. And for the men that say, oh, but I would really enjoy, you know, a woman reaching out to me, they probably wouldn't be ghosting, well, not ghosting, but ceasing conversation with that woman in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, there is no wrong or right in this situation. I'm trying to think of what I would have done. Because on the one hand, there is that problem when we're constantly expecting the man to do all of the hard work and all of the awkward work and all of the first moves that are just so hard to do. And so we're expecting only them to do it, and then we're being critical of them when they don't do it right, or if they don't do it on the timing that we want them to, especially if we're not willing to do it ourselves. And again, if you're having doubts, then yeah, I think also women could reach out and just to make sure. And I don't know, it really depends.
Yeah, I agree. It depends on the situation. And in all fairness, she could have also said, are we still on for tonight? Like, she could have also in the morning like, are we still on for tonight? Like, it could have come on, you know, from her as well. Like, she's not completely blameless in this situation, but I completely understand her not showing up if nothing had been confirmed. You know,
Yeah.
she's not at fault there, but she, you know, the confirmation for the evening then it can come from both ways. But the fact that, you know, he thinks that a week of, in the 50s that would have worked, but we're not in the 50s. There are ways of communicating.
Wow.
And it's just get with the program. It's funny how some of these people are, oh, but that's not how it used to happen in the olden days. Okay, great, then drive a car, don't get a phone, don't do this, don't do that, because that's how it was in the olden days. Like, just get with it, get with the program. This is how it works nowadays. You can't say that you didn't know this. You just can't, be 30 to 40, like anything below 55. You can't honestly say, I didn't know how that works. Like, you've been in this world with technology and everything. You can't say that you didn't know. It doesn't work. I don't agree.
Yeah, and all it is just sending a message to confirm. There's nothing, it's just each person needs to take responsibility of their own actions and their own words. But yeah. First dates, they're so much fun.
Tell us about your first dates in the comments of all the social media platforms.
Yeah, we want to hear about your best dates, your worst dates. What have you learned from your dates? What rules have you created for yourself from those dates? That would be interesting to talk about, because I've made a lot of a good set of rules for myself because of first dates.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tell us about those, and then next episode that we may or may not record in 20 minutes or less, we'll talk about why our previous relationships ended.
Oh, that's
Bye, everyone.
Bye.